You can start.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mini Break. I'm Gary Preston with my co-host, Cindy Beal, and today we have a very special guest with us from the GLTA community. In 2018, he won the Golden Slam, including a gold medal at the Gay Games in Paris, France. In 2019, he competed in 22 tournaments in 13 different countries, collecting 21 trophies. Ladies and gentlemen, David Chen, aka Miss Martina Hingis.
Don't care 'cause I know, when I put it on, I look good, I look good, I look good. You can't tell me that I look good, I look good, I look good. 'Cause ain't nothing wrong with it. Looking like I own the shit. Say what you want, I look good, I look good, I look good. Can be no one else. Ooh, I'm amazing. All of my flaws, my scars, I got nothing.
Hello, and welcome to Mini Break for our very special Sunday edition with our very special guest, Mr. David Chen.
Hello from sunny Fort Lauderdale.
Welcome, David. How are you doing today?
And today is a good day.
Well, it's always a good day with you, right?
Yeah, the weather's good. I got to play tennis earlier, so what more can we ask for?
For coronavirus to just take a seat back and get away from us.
Back seat.
Exactly. Take a back seat. It's time. So we are so glad that you chose to join us today. And we are ecstatic because there is so much that you have to say and that you've done and that you do. And that, just a lot.
No, I've been very lucky to be able to do what I've done, what I do. And I hope to continue to do that.
Wonderful. So then let's go ahead and just jump right on in. Gary, I'm sure you have a whole bunch of questions for David.
Okay, I wanted to go right in. Can you explain the Golden Slam that you're talking about?
So I really made it up myself. So the Golden Slam, the professional is winning on 4 surfaces and a gold medal. So in 2018, I won the GLTA grass court tournament on grass. I won the clay court classic on clay. And I played the Philly Open, which was played on indoor first because it rained the first 2 days. And then in the final, it was played on outdoors hard court. So that's, 2 separate surfaces.
Whoa.
And then I went to Paris and on red clay, and it was the Gay Games in Paris. And I won a gold medal. So, bam!
Oh, that was a lot of stuff to do.
It was not planned. It just happened.
So there was no plan. Now, what made you want to go, and how did you qualify to get into the Gay Games and the different tournaments, and as far as the rankings go? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, you can pretty much enter any tournament you want at the division that you qualify for. And for the Gay Games, is actually in Paris was my first time ever playing abroad. I've always just played in the U.S. and a bunch of my friends from San Francisco, they're like, David, we're going to go to Paris, the Gay Games. Y'all want to go? I'm like, okay. And then San Francisco was like the first Gay Games ever, 40 years ago. So we were the first to walk off of the opening ceremony. And there was I want to say 100 people just from San Francisco itself. So
wow.
That was an amazing experience. And at first I was like, okay, this opening ceremony, maybe it's like a little auditorium or, something like that. But it was a really huge stadium with big TV monitors. And it looked just like I'm on TV, like this real Olympics, which is an experience that I can't duplicate and I will never forget.
So did it kind of echo what you see on TV in regards to the actual Olympic Games, where you're on the podium and you're kind of sitting up there and then gold and silver next to you? Like, did they have
once you get a medal, you do get that after there was a medal ceremony day that all the players go, and there is gold, silver and bronze that they call for each divisions. And actually, funny thing is, while I was on the podium, I took a selfie with all the crowds in the back, and everybody just laughed so much. I made a whole crowd so happy. So that was really fun.
Well, it seems that you're able to make a whole crowd happy wherever you go. And I mean that in the most respectful way.
I just love making people happy. And I'm good at making fun of myself. So I'm an easy target. So.
Well, we wouldn't consider you a target. I mean, I met you a few years ago on the GLTA circuit, and I think the first time I actually met you was at Liberty Open. And it's one of those things that you see everybody on the tour a lot, and you just never know who they are, where they come from, and you only get a few chances to talk to them. And especially here in New York when we play the Liberty, we don't have. It's not like the other tournaments where there's a big social aspect to it. So how do you deal with like the whole social aspect of it? Do you like having that time with people, or would you just rather play your tennis and just go on your way?
Oh no, when I go play tennis tournaments, tennis is really secondary. Meeting friends and hanging out with my friends is like my main goal. And tennis has allowed me to meet so many players all around the world. And like when we go, like say we have a banquet, it's like a family get together dinner that it's like a family reunion. That's what I call it now. It's a family reunion every time I go to tournaments. And if you play tennis, if you win, great. If not, you can hang out with your family. So that's the biggest reward, to be with your family.
Exactly. I mean, I understand, because I totally enjoy the banquet. Is usually the best thing for me as well. So,
Yeah, to let our hair down and try to
yes, of course.
learn something outside of our tennis outfits. So
Well,
just
we're definitely going to dig into your tennis outfits later, because there have been some that
They're
we
quite
talk about.
fetch. I will say that.
No,
Dave, I wanted to ask you, you had success at all these Grand Slams. Which one was your favorite? Which one was the most memorable in 2018?
for 2018 Paris Gay Games, no question. It was my first time in an international stage. I've never seen so many people from all over the world. I don't know. There was another world out there, that the European tennis circuit, and I met so many nice and friendly people. That just are so friendly that invited me to their countries. They, oh, David, you're so fun. You need to come to my country. Like Gil from Tel Aviv. He was the first one that said, David, you're so fun. Come to Tel Aviv. I'm like, Israel? I never been there. And sure enough, 2020, I made a point to go. And that just started my journey, that Paris Gay Games.
Well, real quick, David, one of the things that, everybody's thinking about right now, of course, is, well, first off, how are you doing during this whole time with Corona and being quarantined, and how has all of that affected you?
Well, it's been, I'm tough for everybody, especially as tennis players or anybody. Like it's tough not to be able to go out and play tennis, or go out to dinner with friends, or not able to travel. So, but through this experience, luckily I've been able to have new experiences that would not have happened if it wasn't for this coronavirus. So there are good things that came out of it.
Well, we do have a question from Bjorn in Germany. Hello, Bjorn. So he wants to know, David, during this, what are your goals in this special times? And, what do you think in general about tennis in the times that we're dealing with right now with coronavirus?
Well, one of my goals this year outside of tennis is actually to spend more time with my husband. And because last year I was gone for so long. So my goal for 2020, I want to spend more time with my husband. We've been together for 8 weeks in a row, and we have, so that's a great goal to achieve. And
nobody's bleeding or dying or anything.
No, and my husband works for Gilead Science. I don't know if you heard of Gilead Science for remdesivir. So he's super, super busy. So he's busy working, and I'm really good at entertaining myself. So we just kind of like keep each other, busy on our own. But at nighttime, we can spend our quality time together on weekends. So that's a goal that I was able to achieve during this quarantine.
That's awesome, because I think like when we talked a while back, when, we decided to do the show with you and, reached out to you, I started learning so much about you that I just did not know. And especially, like I said, after knowing you for so many years, I was shocked when you said that you were married, because I had no idea.
I know. I did it in, like a little article on the GLTA, and one of the thing was, I'm married. And then suddenly I'm getting all these private messages saying, you're married? I'm like, is that a disappointment, or, All right, y'all. Just
I
surprise
find
us.
it flattering, to be honest with you. People are questioning that.
Well, I think it's great when people find out things like that about you, because then it gives them more of an inside look about you, when they actually see you on tour. Because I think for the most part, a lot of the guys that I've met on tour, and like you said, when you first met me, you thought, oh, here's the photographer. You didn't even realize that I actually play tennis.
I didn't even know you played tennis until we started talking.
Oh, boy.
And that's hilarious to me. I mean, like I said, I love it when I meet people and they, come out with so many other little tidbits about their lives. I mean, you only get to know people in the last few years just because of what they put on social media. And that was one of the reasons that, Gary and I talked about doing this, is because we definitely want to try to get to know more about the players on the GLTA tour and outside of the tour, what you like and, what you don't like, just things that you want to do in general.
Yeah, and actually, even during this quarantine, I had this chance to, stop, and pause, and then start connecting with my different friends around the world. And actually, I took time to Zoom chat with them and do video chatting, and I got to know a lot of them so much better. So that's also one of the good things that I got to do during this quarantine. So I'm actually making more friends, getting to know people better, and I love that.
Well, speaking of friends from around the world, Dan Sky from Barcelona, love that segue. He said you're one of the most popular players on the tour, if not the most. Yay. With that, you have a big voice in our GLTA family and community. How are you using that voice?
Wow, so deep. Okay.
Get the shovel, start digging.
Well, okay, so since I do, have a lot of know a lot of people, and one of my hashtag, if you see my posts, is the hashtag FLIK forever, and the FLIK stands for fun, loving, inspiring, and kind. So I think that's so important for me to show and teach everybody how fun, loving, inspiring, and kind we all can be. And with that, this year, one of the things I actually working on is in our transgender community, who has been discriminated so much, not just in general, but within our community. So like my friend Natasha and Reese Scott, I got to know them better, and we did a photo shoot, and I even posted on the Transgender Awareness Day, and we want to shine light onto that community and continue to support them.
Yeah, that's incredible that you're doing that, because Reese was one of my very first doubles partners in DC. So I've been with Reese through this journey that that she's been on since that, and she knows that for me it took me a minute to because with everybody nowadays going for all the different pronouns and saying who they are and speaking who they are in their own truth. It took me a hot minute to get used to calling Reese she instead of he, because like I said, I've known Reese from the beginning of the journey, or as close to the beginning of the journey up until now. And meeting and knowing the new Reese and his lovely wife and his child, it's been an awesome thing for me. So.
Yeah, she's definitely one of the pioneers in the community. And my friend Natasha Torres from Fort Lauderdale, and the first time I saw her, I'm like, oh, she's awesome and fun. Let me, I made a point to say, hey, Natasha, I'm David. What's your name? And then I got to know her better, and so it's kind of a learning process for myself as well. So I'm glad that we can bring awareness to that, and I'm trying my best to support them.
Yeah, especially during like this time, I feel like it's even more important that we're together. And the fact that you've had that message before then, I think it really stands out now. It's very apparent with the direction everyone's going. No one's safe with, the virus and what's transpired. And hopefully this can bring people together. I definitely condone you for that, which brings me to my next point. I want to talk to you about the pillow dress challenge that you've had.
Oh, that was so funny. So, we're all bored during this quarantine. So, and then again, I'm good at entertaining myself. So I saw, online, like a pillow dress. I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, let me try it, because, I'm known on the tour for wearing tennis dresses. So I'm like, oh, I'll take a tennis dress theme challenge. So I posted a picture and like I call it Wimbledon White. And then people start like, wow, that's so fun. We can if we can watch Wimbledon this year, at least we can see you looking like that. And so I start challenging different players to do the same thing. And then I had got great responses. We have people in Canada, we have people in Europe, and one of the group that I was so surprised with is there's a gay tennis community in Argentina who I don't know anybody, who I never heard of. One day they just send me a bunch of pictures. They say, David, we saw your picture and we love you. And this is our group picture from with the tennis, fellow tennis dress. I'm like, so that really made me feel good that I'm making, and my happiness and my joy is spreading all over to Argentina. And so I definitely want to go there this year if they have a tournament, because it it just it just warms my heart to know that I'm making that difference.
That's great. And like Dan said, you are one of the most popular players on the tour, and you're so outgoing. And for a while, I never exactly knew what level you played, because I saw you talking to everybody from D players to open players and interacting with everybody, which is, I think, what everybody wants when they go to a tournament. They want to be able to interact with everybody and not be afraid to go to somebody because they're at a certain level or whatnot. And I think you and a handful of other players have started making that possible for them to do that.
Yeah, it's tough. For the longest time, there's always been kind of like a class separation, and it's unfortunate because open players are great, and before there would be like we don't talk to lower level players, and I don't like that because I started in the C division, and I moved my way up to open, and then fluctuate between open and A. So I know everybody from open to C, and my husband's a D player, so I better be nice to the D players too. So. So that's why I feel like it's just important for all of us to be nice to each other. We're all just here to play tennis, and it's not like the open player gets a bigger paycheck, and the D level gets, so we're here for the fun, we're here for the tennis, we're here for the community, and that's the most important thing we all should know about GLTA.
Right. That is amazing. So real quick, we have a few questions that have come through while we've been going through this. So I'm going to start with Jonathan, who has said, what made you decide to change your racket to Yonex?
Oh, boy.
No. Oh, hold on. Speaking of Yonex, I need to do a little reveal.
Oh, I knew something. Oh, wow.
Okay, here's Yonex. Oh.
Strange.
No. So people's been asking me about the question about Yonex. I've been using Yonex rackets for over 25 years, actually.
Really?
Wow.
25 years. And every time I buy tennis rackets, I buy like 6 or 8 at a time because it's so hard to find a nice racket that fits your game. So once I found it, I bought like 8 of them because, they have to last. And the last racket I got, which I had 8, it lasted 6 years. So one started cracking, and so toward the end of last year, they all cracked except one. So that was when I really had to look for new racket. And actually, I tried other brands, but at the end of the day, I came back to Yonex.
Wonderful. And I know Juan asked the question about becoming a Yonex ambassador and how you got their sponsorship. So how did you became an ambassador first and then got the sponsorship, or?
No, it's the same thing.
Oh, so, okay, I got you.
So I think throughout my career, I've been a Yonex ambassador. So because I played so many tournaments last year, and if you look at my social media from last year when I traveled, I had this big red bag by Wilson. So and in my hashtag is always my big red bag, and people was like, "Wow, that big red bag is so iconic," because it's in all of my pictures. So.
Right.
Actually contacted me and say, hey, we love how you advertise for us and just keep it up. I'm like, oh, thank you, sponsor me. And they're like, oh, we'll think about it. So I'm like, So and then one of my friends and last year, and then people start telling me, David, you need to get sponsored. You should get sponsored by Nike. Randy, they say you can represent the men's and the women's collection because you. Yes.
Because I do notice that when you play, sometimes you'll start off playing in just your shorts and a t-shirt and all that, but the further along you get into the tournament is when you start changing into your tennis dress.
No, I have a tradition. I only wear a tennis dress in the final. So only when I get to the finals.
As it should be.
Yes, it's a big stage, and and except last year I played doubles with Chucky, and we talked about playing doubles, month before, and he's like, David, you're not the only one that's gonna wear tennis dress. I'm like, really? And she's like the Venus Williams of GLTA. So she sent me some pictures of her in a dress, and I'm like, girl, we're wearing a tennis dress every single match. It's the only time that I wear tennis dress, like starting from first round till the final, and we won the whole tournament. Hey,
awesome! That is great.
I would be petrified.
So tennis dress only.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What did you say, David? We didn't hear that.
And also Paris Gay Games, and the 2018, because it's such a special event, and it's my first Gay Games ever. So that week, it was a 10-day event. I brought 7 tennis dresses because I want to wear a different one every single day. And I did. And I was surprised I was the only one that wore a tennis dress the whole tournament. Because,
really?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Except the final, this other doubles team wore tennis dress. But that was it. I was surprised that I was the only one that wore tennis dress. And I want to show you guys the pictures in case you haven't seen.
Oh, he's got the tablet. David, I would be absolutely terrified that something would pop out. I'd have to get a girth.
I know, right? Swipe the right
wire. Yeah, there's no way.
See, look,
that was all the tennis dresses that were.
Yeah, you have the body for it, so good for you. I like to eat much, so no.
Because I was kind of sponsored by Sophie. Oh my God, Tail Activewear. Tail Activewear is a women's clothing store. One of my girlfriends, she's a rep for Tail Activewear, and she saw one of my pictures from years ago wearing a tennis dress. She goes, David, you need to wear some of these dresses. I say, give me some dresses, I'll wear it. So I brought all those dresses to Paris and wore it every day, different one every day, and
And see, and I think that's what a lot of people need to hear, because there's so many of us in the community nowadays that are still not so comfortable coming out and doing, being ourselves and being who we want to be, and how we're still so caught up in what we think society thinks that we should be and how we should dress and how we should look. And I think part of that is also, looking at the gay community as a whole, is that sometimes even within our own community, we still have people inside the community that will come to you and say, you're a dude, why are you wearing a dress? Instead of just saying, you've got great legs, do you? So.
No, it's unfortunate because, one of my hashtag Flake Forever is, be nice to people. And, because when you put that thing, I'm an LGBTQ activist, I'm like, am I an activist? But like, I don't go to parades, I don't go to protests, things like that. But I think with ourselves, just like some people say, if you believe in God, you don't have to go to church to believe in God. You just believe in yourself. So
Yeah.
for
Right.
me,
I don't think it's about being, going to parades and doing all that, because people see you in your everyday life. I mean,
Yeah.
the parade is only once a year, and it's only for a select few people that will get to see so many other things that your message may get clouded or just, washed over during that parade. But during your everyday life, and when you're on the court and when you're out just hanging out with people get to see the real you, and they get to see what you think is the representation of your community.
And I think, in the gay community, our daily activity, how we act with each other, it's an activity slash activist how we show the world and within our community how we should be. So
Hence the reason I said that you're an LGBTQ activist. So own it, put it on the shirt, take care of it.
Well, I love the fact that it's not a persona. It's genuinely you. And I think that's what draws people to you, which in turn, again, even being an activist, you don't need to have a label slapped on you to do that. So hats off to you for doing that. I think everyone takes that responsibility when they step outside or whatever you do in life, regardless of what it is. So
yeah, I think it's really important. Like, for example, I love to be on social media and I post fun stuff. I don't post anything politics or religion, but I post fun stuff. But then when people do see me, it's like, because we all know social media can be fake. Some people say, "Oh, I'm joyous, I'm happy," but they're not happy or miserable. So, and I think it's important when they actually see you in person, you're the same person that you represent on your social media and that you're true. So, no fake news here.
Good. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take this back a few hundred years or so.
He said it's not me, for the record. Just saying. So
I'm proud of our age. We're 35 and happy about it again and again and again and again. So
Dave, wanted to touch on when you first started playing. I want to go way back to when you first picked up a racket. Tell me about that journey for a little bit.
Well, that's in the 1800s. No, I'm just kidding. No. When tennis was
in 1892.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I started when I was 10. I remember I didn't know anything about tennis before, and my godfather gave me, I still remember, a Prince Junior tennis racket, and he said, "Oh, let's play tennis," and right away I liked it. So I'm like, I want to get better. And back then there's no YouTube. Again, it's a long time ago, so there was no YouTube. So I went to the store and bought tennis magazine, and I still remember the person on the cover of the tennis magazine was Chris Evert, and on the title it says, "How to hit like the best, a professional." I'm like, oh, let me buy that magazine so I can start learning. If you watch how I hit now, I should get my money back from that magazine. I do not hit like Chrissy Everett at all.
Well, your forehand's definitely designed for chipping and charging.
No, exactly. But how often does she come to the net, right? So my ground stroke it's effective, but it's unusual. So
but if it's not broke, don't fix it. Look at all the titles you've won.
Thank you so much. Yeah, because one of the major things is I slice my forehand. And so that's why sometimes I add my name to -Niculescu.
I was going to say that.
So the 3 years, I used to hit just top spin like Martina Hingis forehands. And then I got tennis elbow because my friend said, you need to hit harder, be more powerful. So I got tennis elbow. And then so I had to not play tennis for 3 months. First injury in my whole life. And when I came back, I couldn't hit a regular forehand because it was hurting. So I started slicing my forehand. And I was so embarrassed how it looked, how the ball come across. And my best friend Gino from San Francisco goes, David, that slice is weird and wicked. Own it. So I'm like, okay. So I start working on that slice forehand, and now that's all I do. And it's made its way through a few trophies and uniqueness of the game. So
a few.
I've seen that wicked that forehand slice, and it gave a lot of people that I didn't think that it would give any trouble to. It gave them a lot of trouble, getting up to it and trying to figure out which way it was going to bounce. So
because nobody does that. So, and because in tennis, you there's no just one way to play tennis. Not everybody's gonna hit like a Serena Williams. Not everybody's gonna hit like a Roger Federer. Everybody has to find their own identity. So I guess I found mine.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, it's different to idolize someone, and then you can take from their craft and apply it to yours, but it's not going to be that. Then, even if you look at the great players like McEnroe, Graf, I'll even throw, amazing as she got terrible footwork, Serena Williams. I would never tell someone you need to move like Serena. I'm sorry, she's got bad footwork technically, not like Steffi. That is the fact. Just saying. However, though,
We'll talk later.
That's perfectly fine. we made it, but I knew that was coming. But you make it work, and no one gave Steffi Graf crap for hitting her backhand while falling out of her shoes backwards, or John McEnroe doing the American twist, where he's about breaking his back. It works. So, and it's fine. I mean, sports gets very robotic anyway, and with biology and your mechanics and quote unquote technique, it looks different even if it's the same.
Exactly, it does. Unless you're that person, you just can't duplicate it.
No, and if you do, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
No,
it's not worth it.
And that's why I love Martina Hingis, because she won not by how big she hits, she won by brain and tactics and smart and movement. So I think that's something I can relate to. Like how to defend against the more big and stronger, powerful players, and with strategy, with my movement. So I that's why people say, "How are you, Miss Hingis?" You don't have that. So.
Well, it's so funny that mentioning her like that, because she was one of those players that I enjoyed her game watching it on TV, but I was never like a huge fan of hers. And I finally got to see her play live at World Team Tennis here in New York. And that's when I became a fan of her game in doubles, because like you said, it's about the strategy. And I love playing doubles. Everybody that knows me knows that if it's singles, yay. That gets me warmed up for doubles. But when I watched a lot of doubles, and I specifically like on the women's side of it, it seems like they take more chances, and they're not all about just bang 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 bang. It's about hitting it from the baseline and getting up to the net and doing all the good the volleys and whatnot. And her game, she was very strategic, whoever she played with. So I love that.
Well, and she can play with everybody and do well.
Right.
Yeah, and if you look at her career, even in singles, with what she's accomplished, she took a different approach to what we know as quote unquote power, which is really taking the ball early and creating those short angles. Was she blowing people off the court? No, but she was taking time away from her opponents. If you look at people like Belinda Bencic or Simona Halep, when they're really feeling themselves and in the moment, you see, some similarities in the game with that. So she definitely was a contributor to that. And I think it's good that she could go to plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D.
I have all those plans.
Yeah. So
you want to hear them? I'll tell you. I'll tell people. My plan A stands for aggressive. So, I'm trying to be aggressive and, take the shots. If that doesn't work, plan B. Backboard. Just get backboard. If that doesn't work, plan C. Chip and charge.
So next class, what time will it be, and where are you going with it?
And then plan D, drop and lob. And
I will tell you right now, I tried my best one year to, a friend of mine told me, he said, you should really start, doing a serve and volley, because, you have a good serve. You should just do a serve and volley and come to the net and just take care of it and get the point. And I was like, okay, let's try that. Yeah, no, because that whole lob thing, if I'm coming in and you're hitting it over my head, you got that point. Congratulations.
Drop and lob.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Serve and volley, I think, is key for everyone to develop. But a lot of people, even if you have an amazing serve, like, no offense, Mark Philippoussis, Andy Roddick, let's not reflect on 2009 Wimbledon, where he blew that volley right out of the air. It's kind of, you hit your big serve, it's like, what do I do next? And
exactly.
People don't understand the concept of it. But yeah, Sydney, I would like you to come into net more. You do have a really good serve.
But the next question that we have.
It's great for doubles. You don't have to cover half of the court.
Exactly. And I love it. But one of the questions that I did have for you, because I think you said that you came out like you were around, 16, 17 when you came out?
Oh, 17. So I came out in the first annual Orange County Gay Pride Festival. And I don't think I ever came out, actually, because before I didn't know the word gay, seriously. So I didn't know the word gay because, I was brought up in a very Christian family, and I was not, exposed to the media, or there was no, so I didn't know, and so I was reading the paper newspaper, long time ago, and then it says, first annual Gay Pride Festival in Orange County. I'm like, ooh, let me check it out. So I went there, and I see all these, people. I'm like, I'm one of them. That's me. So bam, I came out. So I was never really in. I just discovered.
You just discovered yourself more.
Exactly. I was never in the closet, I should say.
Right. Well, see, for me, and since you mentioned it about growing up in a Christian household, which I'm assuming a lot of people that we know did come up in a Christian household or a religious household at some point in time, or with that aspect of it. But culturally, how was it to come out in the Chinese community, or in the Asian community in itself?
Yeah. So my family is from Taiwan, and after I came out, of course, it's Christian plus Asian conservative, so it's like a double whammy. And not many people know the story. So I had a boyfriend then, and I would sneak away and spend the night at his house at night. And one day, my mom goes, "Where did you go last night?" I said, "Oh, I went to my friend's house." "Oh, is that a guy or girl?" And I go, "Oh, it's a guy." He's like, "Oh, what? Are you gay?" And she was joking, and I'm like, "Yes," because I was not in the closet. So I said yes, and she like dropped her face. She goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." So, and then she like, "Okay, you have to go to see a doctor. You have to go to church, pray more." I'm like, "No, this is who I am." And I've discovered myself for several months now. So it's not like I just, discovered myself. And she actually threatened to take me to lock me up or something like that. So actually I ran away from home when I was 17 years old.
Get out.
I was this tragic, but it wasn't. So I ran away from
So when you ran away, did you just go down the street, run away, or did you go away?
No, I ran away to stay at my then boyfriend's house.
Okay.
Yeah. And my mom was sneaky. She followed me. So she kind of knew where, his phone number and everything, right? Because back then, long time ago, there's a phone record. So then she knew what number I was calling. So I was away for 3 days, staying with my boyfriend. And I remember she left me a message saying, "David, please come home. Even the tiger's mother will not eat her own child." So I know, I'm like, oh my God. So I said, "Okay, Mom, let's get together." So I met her and she hugged me. She cried. She goes, "Dave, you're my son. You'll always be my son no matter what." So ever since then, I kind of got my freedom because I was true to myself and I never have to lie or hide behind something. And my mom realized that.
Dave, is there any advice you could give someone that's been in your position? I'm sure we all have to some degree. Sydney even knows my story coming out late and whatnot. And I'm sure Sydney's experience, the three of us have experienced similarities. What could you relate to our audience that they could?
No, I think currently right now, there's so many organizations, there's so many informations online that you can look for people who just came out. Like when I first came out, I joined this young adult rap group. It's for people under 18. Yeah, so it's an orange.
Did you just say rap group?
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah,
and not wrapping a gift with a bow, actual rap music. Or
no, I don't know what that word. Basically, young adult rap. Huh.
Double tape. What?
I'm
And
not sure.
killing.
For gay kids under 18 to, for meetings. So it's like an AA meeting, except it's for young gay adults. So I went to that when I was 17. But right now, there's so many avenues that you're able to find out online to look for. There's counselors, there's helplines, and I think it's so important to reach out. And through them, I think you can find peers within your own situation and share stories. So I think it's much easier to come out than ever right now, and share stories and share the experiences and get support.
Exactly. And I think it's important. And I think toward the end of the show, we'll have some websites up that people can go to, that they can share with other people that are struggling to come out. And one of the things that Gary and I decided to do now going forward is we're going to have a mini chat with each one of us, so that way people can get to know us as well. Because like you said, everybody that looks at me, they just think that I'm just the photographer that comes out to all these matches and that's it. But, there's a lot more to me. And with Gary, he has such an interesting story about, when he came out and, what he was going through at that time and after as well. So I think it's important that, especially now, that the older versions of us are able to tell our stories so that the newer generation that's coming up can understand, what we went through. And God help me now, I never thought I would be one of those people that says, well, back in my day, we had to, take the stick and push the can, all that crap. But, but I think it's important that, people learn and know their history, because it's not just about your history as your race or anything like that. It's about also your identity as a person on this planet now. So, and I don't want people to think that even though it's gotten better, it can still get much better.
Yes.
Overall.
Yeah, of course. And one thing we need to, oh my God, it sounds so old, tell these young kids, who are young gays, it wasn't that easy back then. And so many people have made sacrifices and endured so much pain and fought for what we have now. So I think it's so important for us to pay respect to the older generation, like what they paved the way for us, even before me, that to be how we can be today. Because I hear horror stories, of how gays were treated way back when. I came out in the 90s and because of the AIDS epidemic. And I remember going to, what do you call this? When you 1, 2, 3, we're here to stay, we're queer, protest. Yeah, I remember going to that at Disneyland in Orange County. And so, I was an activist back then too.
Yeah. And I think it's incredibly important that people now still remember, like especially now during the pandemic that we're going through, that they remember that, for some of us, this is not the first time that we've had to go through something like this. It wasn't as, what am I trying to say? It wasn't as in depth as what we're doing right now as far as staying at home and sequestering ourselves and being quarantined. But like you, I grew up in the 80s, when we first started hearing about HIV and AIDS, and, people not wanting to drink water after people, or, afraid to go to restaurants and all of that. And it just became this cultural melting pot of hatred that people developed. And I don't want to see that now with this corona pandemic that we're going through, because you see it now, to a certain degree with people, since the weather has gotten better, people are going back outside and, they've forgotten that just last week they had to wear a mask, and that, they needed to be apart from each other just to make sure that no one's getting sick. So I think that they still need to understand that, there are those of us that have been through all of that and kind of going through it again. So, those of us that are like me, staying home and like, I'll see y'all out my window until I'm ready to go back outside.
Well, I think it's important for everyone to find their own time to, come out of this pandemic. So there's no timeline for anybody, but just make sure we do it safely. That's the number one thing.
Right. So what I want to go into real quick, Dan Sky from Barcelona had another question for you. He said, if you could, if you had the chance to spend a day with an ATP or WTA player, who would it be and why? And actually give us one of each.
Okay. For WTA, we'll just start with her. Even though I'm not a big fan, I want to spend with Serena, because I want to know all those dirt, all the tea. Tell me everything. She has dirt. She's been She's been playing for over 20 some years, and I know she's got stories. And then through her, I want to find out about Dimitrov, right? So, and I'll go spend a day with him. Bam!
Get the other side of the story.
Exactly. I'll go to the other side of the story. And he is so hot. So yeah, those two.
Yeah, and it's also, speaking of Dimitrov, it's one of those things where we were talking about social media earlier and how, you see people on there and you automatically think this is who that person is. And to a degree it is, their lives a little bit. But I read something that he posted online and then went a little bit in depth. And he seems like a nice guy.
I
And
think so.
it just makes you wonder how much of it is sensationalism to just, get people to come out and see the show, or if it's, are they really, God forgive me, a dick for being who they are sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't help who he's dated or has had, a relationship with, which caused the clash between two players.
And
So-
see, with Dimitrov, I can get the tea, the tea on both Serena and Maria. Hey, so
Call out the names. Please call out the names.
exactly.
Yes, Serena's like, isn't she back in Russia or something?
So, I mean, it's so great that, you're able to, like, I'm seeing all these people that are coming in here. Like, we have Barcelona, Germany, London. You have been everywhere, it seems. And I know that you've been working with Delta Airlines. So how long have you been working with Delta Airlines, and, what did you do when you first started with them up till now?
I've been with Delta for 22 years in 1998.
Oh, wow.
And but it's a funny story how I never thought about becoming a flight attendant before, seriously. So, I went to college for psychology, and one of my best friends then was dating this guy from American Airlines, Tom. And Tom was a gate agent, and he had buddy passes for American Airlines. So one weekend, Larry asked me, do you want to go to P-Town with Tom? Because we got buddy passes, we can fly for free. I'm like, free? Sure, I'm there. So we flew, we got a free flight from LA to Boston and took the ferry to P-Town. And we were going to be there for 5 days. And after spending there for 5 days, Tom is like, David, you need to be a flight attendant because you're really, cute back then, and you're so friendly with people. Talking to all the strangers at P-Town, and you need to be a flight attendant. So I say, okay. So that's when I started looking into becoming a flight attendant. And it was, I played a tennis tournament in San Francisco the following weekend, and I was walking on the street, and while walking on Market Street, I'm like, you know what? When I get after this tournament, I'm gonna go home and start making phone calls and see how I can become a flight attendant. And I started with Northwest Airlines. Actually, I interviewed with American, United, and Northwest, and I got hired by all of them. And I never actually really heard of Northwest until I started working for them. But I knew they were big flying into Asia, and so of course, being the son that I am, I'm like, oh, my mom can fly back to Taiwan for.
I think we may have had a glitch here. So we'll hold on for David to come back on. But in the meantime, we do have some more questions that are coming on, but it seems like all of them are related to David. So once David gets back on here, we'll try to go ahead and get some of those questions answered. But for you, Gary, we did have a question from Bjorn in Germany, because he noticed that David has his name in parentheses as Miss Hingis. So who would your alter ego be?
Oh, so Jennifer Capriati. Not even the question. So yeah, that was my idol.
Explain that while I try to get in touch with David. Explain that and why.
Okay. I know some of you are probably thinking, oh my gosh, she did it. Okay, first off, she pushed the Williams sisters. She pushed Davenport. She was at a point in her career where, she hit an all-time low, and she came back in one of the best eras of women's tennis. And that's an actual fact. So the fact she came from nothing and then was able to circle back around was even incredible, despite her political views and what she's been through. Like, there is a great player there that was definitely tortured and went through a lot personally with herself. So the fact she could battle her demons was fantastic.
That is awesome. And I think we have David back now. Yay, he's back.
Okay.
Technical difficulties. Good thing it's not a wardrobe malfunction.
Yes, we don't want to see the nipples right now. Sorry.
You haven't seen it?
No. And if you do, I will remove you from the screen now.
Everybody else has.
Well, yes, they have, especially since
Right?
you did the Chen Top 10. So we'll get to that too. let's see, where were we before you vanished off because you were in the middle of your.
She's talking about being a good son. I said she. Sorry. Well, I hope that was.
Oh, so
She's talking about how you wanted to be a good son, so you decided to go with a particular airline so mom could go back and forth from Taiwan.
yes, so I went to Northwest Airlines, and right away I got transferred to Detroit. I'm like, Detroit? I'm like, okay. I know, right? So, but things happen for a reason, I believe, because it's in Detroit. That's where I met my husband.
Aw.
In Detroit.
That is awesome, because that was that was my next question, is where did you meet your husband and how? Because I didn't know if you met him on the airplane or, in a terminal somewhere.
I know, right? No. So I met my husband a month after I started flying for Northwest Airlines, who's now Delta. Because it's a new city. I don't know anybody. So I went online on AOL, looking for people to play tennis. And my husband was one of the guys. Hey! And my husband was one of the guys that replied and said, hey, I play tennis. I said, okay. And this is one of the funny stories my husband always tell people. Because when I was a flight attendant, I was not making a lot of money, and I'm, very cheap. So I was staying in an apartment with 4 other girls, and we have to pay for laundry, to do wash. Like $2 for the wash, $2 for the drying. So I talked to my husband, and back then, not, David. His name is also David. So I messaged him. I said, do you have a washer and dryer? And he's like, yeah, why? He's like, can I bring my laundry over, to save $4? So I went over, and of course, there was like, lust at first sight, like there was a connection. So let me start my laundry. And then later on, my husband told me, he's like, when I brought my laundry over, and after meeting me, he was like, oh, good, he's going to stay a while because,
He do his laundry.
Yeah, both of our laundry. So that's a funny story because, I took laundry to his place, and that's how it all got started.
Nice. So when you're doing your whole thing on, being a flight attendant and, being able to travel as much as you do, what is the funniest thing that has happened to you while you have been on a plane?
Okay. So one story I always tell people, when I was flying a route between Detroit to LA, and Janet Jackson was on my flight. So she was, hi Janet, Miss Jackson, if you're nasty.
Yes.
So, and this is, 20 years ago, she was a big star. So she was in the window and her manager was in the aisle. And I was working in first class, and I say, hello, what would you guys like to drink? And you know what she said? She goes, tell him I want a Coke. I say, smile. I say, tell her we don't have Coke. We have Pepsi.
Awesome.
Tell her. So she looked up, and she right away, she knew she was wrong. So I say, she goes, I'll have a Pepsi, please. I say, sure, you want a Coke can?
That is the most awesome story I have ever heard about her. I absolutely love Janet Jackson. But
I know, I love her too, trust me. But
was she just having a bad day?
But this is the thing.
It's like a Mopey Myrtle moment. I'm not gonna lie, Mopey Myrtle.
She's a big star, but still, I'm all about being respectful. And if she's not gonna pay me the respect, if she doesn't want to talk to me, I won't talk to her. So,
right. And I've had friends that have said the same about other celebrities, like that work. People that work in the industry, in the hospitality industry, especially, they get to see a lot of these celebrities. And a friend of mine that works at a hotel here in New York said that the first time he met Christina Aguilera, it was the same thing. Like, he had to take something up to her room, knocked on the door, someone else answered, he brought stuff into the room, and she would tell the person that answered the door, tell him I don't want this, and tell him to uncover that. And my friend just finally snapped and said, well, tell her she can lift the lid herself, and tell her I'll be back up with her eyes later.
It's exactly what I did. And she respect. So, and the rest of the flight, she was talking to me like a normal person. So,
right. Well, that's great. So now, what's your worst celebrity sighting on a plane?
Uh-oh.
Who was it? I never actually. I never met a celebrity that was not nice because, I love stars. I always take pictures with stars, and every celebrity I met have always been so nice.
That's awesome because it's rare that you hear that from people.
Although one time I did meet Martina Navratilova in P-Town during that time, that 22 years ago. I did Martina Navratilova, and of course I'm like Martina. So I took a picture with her, one time, and then I saw her again later that night, and I'm like, oh, let's take another picture. And she goes, Did you just take a picture already? What do you want more? And do you know what I said? Did you win 6 Wimbledon already? Why did you want more?
I have to chime in on this because I'm sorry. I went through a similar experience with Martina when World Team Tennis was being played at the University of Delaware. I was 6 years old. I have a family member that's good friends with Pam Shriver, and she was introducing us, and she had her dogs, her little like poo-poo things that you can suck up in the vacuum cleaner on court. She's warming up the bed. She comes off, and I'm probably 6 or 7 years on, like Miss Martina Navratilova, I give the whole spiel. I'm like, can I have your autograph? You're going to have to wait until after I'm done playing. I'm like, okay. Well, she played, and halfway through, I see her running out with like security. So I literally jumped out of the stands, went across the ran up with her with my pet. Where you want? I said, you said you would give me your autograph. I'm literally running right next to her. She's like, get in front of me. Signs my back and goes out the door to the helicopter. No,
good for you.
But you can. I think there's a good heart there. I just think, she's just a little. What's the word I'm looking for?
It's hard. Because
right now. Well, it's not. I think
you have the word, David or Gary. Use the word. Use it.
We're on live television or TV stream, so I want to keep my comments to myself. I got the autograph, so I can't.
It's hard. I'm telling you, when you're a big star and you're constantly getting bombarded by people, sometimes you just want something.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we as fans understand that and recognize that this is their job. Mm-hmm. Per se, so when we approach them, that you have to be respectful of their time, and especially if they've lost, they're not going to be in the mood to come up and sign anybody's autograph or anything. And half the time when they win, they're not in the mood to do it. But it's so funny because like the first time that I met Serena Williams, I just thought, there's no way she's going to sign anything for me. And it was my first year playing or actually taking photographs at the US Open. And I'm sitting on the sideline and I have my camera up and I'm clicking away and I'm, trying to pay attention to the game and trying to enjoy it and then take pictures. And I think she was actually playing against Venus. And sitting down at that level, you hear and feel everything with the ball that's coming across. And Venus slapped a forehand at her and Serena was trying to come to it and she hit it in the tip of it. The ball hit the tip of her racket and smacked me dead in my forehead. And she looked over at me and just went,
You should have just gone, oh!
But later on, I came up and, I had a hat that I wanted her to sign and she signed it. She says, is that going to cover that bruise on your forehead? And I was like, it will now.
It will now, yes.
So I absolutely adore when you get to meet your players and they're better than what you expected.
Yeah.
So they're not what you expected at all. I think people tend to forget.
In a good way. Yeah.
Yeah. Athletes are human.
Yeah. So we have a couple more questions for you since we've been sitting here chit chatting for a while. Bjorn again from Germany. Guten Tag, mein Freund. He wants to know. Who do you think is the most talented German tennis player right now?
Well, in the last couple of weeks, actually, I've been doing this WTA quarantine trivia with my friend John. Right.
Right.
And
Hi, John, if you're out there.
hey, John, thank you. So, and we've been talking to all these stars, and we talked to Sabine Lisinski and Andrea Pikovich. So, talent-wise, like there's really I can't find any like the guy Sasha. I think he's so
Correct.
talented.
Yeah.
So I really thought he had what to be number one, and I think he does have the talent. He's still young, so I think he's definitely the most talented German player right now, Sasha.
What about Kerber?
Kerber, she's winning not because she's talented. It's because of her fighting spirit, her hard work. So it's not a talent. It's her hard work and her intensity. And again, that's a talent. But tennis wise, just pure tennis, Sasha is just so talented.
Right.
Yeah.
I see, and that's a lot with a lot of the newer guys on the ATP side and the women on the WTA side coming up, that a lot of these young players, you can see the potential there and you can see them working for it. But in the back of my mind, sometimes I still think, are they trying to do what, like a Federer or a Nadal or Serena did when they were that young? Because, at the age that some of them are right now, most of the players that we know and love and respect right now have already had at least 2 slams under their belt, and so is it these kids now are trying to put so much pressure on themselves to be that they're missing certain aspects of that game.
Yeah, because like last week you just have Noah on you, and look how difficult it is to
Right.
to be at that level and still can't succeed to where they want to be. So it's so.
I think also you get kind of 2 sides to that. You have the players that fall short, per se. I'll use Eugenie Bouchard for an example. We thought when she came on we got to talk after. But we, she had her lows and her highs. I think some people get discouraged, but I think there's some people where they're like, you know what? They're still rolling. That top 5 is still there. That top 3 is still there. I'll bide my time. I'll wait. They might be waiting for a while. I mean, the complexion of tennis has changed. Being, when Steffi Graf was retiring at 29, now it's like, oh, she's old. That's not old. And, you can see that now with, the advantages of technology. So it's really cool to see what's going to happen in a few years. Now, if they own it, that's different.
Yeah.
Because the past 20 years, the groups that we've seen of players, I don't necessarily think we can produce the same. And that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, but they better not wait too long, because there's always some new girl or some new boy in the wing just waiting to take it out from them. So Andreas, who is our special guest, I think our second guest actually. Hi, Andreas. He wants to know, who do you really, 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 really want to play doubles with that you haven't yet?
Yes. So I have answers. I have truth. So actually, Andre
Speak your truth, David. Speak your truth.
Okay, in the USA, Andre is actually one of the guys, and Kyle is one of the guys I want to play doubles with, because I just love both of their personality, and I know I'll have great fun playing with them. And then in Europe, there's a guy named Lionel and Dan Sky, who is one of my closest sisters, and those are the people I want to play doubles with. So in the US, Andres and Kyle, and in Europe or the world, Lionel and Dan.
Wonderful. And Gary, I'm sure you're in there somewhere.
Oh! I need to see you play.
I think the world is still waiting to see Gary play again, because we haven't seen Gary play since he won Liberty Open.
Long enough.
So,
Oh my God. Do you guys know Tavares? Tavares is on the okay, so this is the thing. Everybody wants to play like Serena. And I can tell you how many people's game has Serena screwed over, because so many players just think I can just hit this big powerful shot. No, then they miss. So, and Tavares is the only player I know in person that hits and succeeds like Serena. They like.
I personally think that every year for the GLTA tournament season that Serena shaves her head and she comes out, tapes her breast down, and comes out and plays at GLTA and calls herself Tavares because Tavares is awesome. I mean, the first time I saw him play, and again, he's one of those players that I saw, you know, from early on and saw how his game, you know, morphed into what it is now. And he's always from, you know, when I first saw him been a big hitter and then his serve. But when I actually started watching him and taking photographs of him, he's got the same type of toss that Serena has, his stance, his movement. It's everything. So I absolutely love his game.
All of the GLTO players, pick someone else. Serena is taken.
Already, you might as well let them go. Let that dream die with all the rest of your dreams because Tavares is taking it.
And this is the thing, Tavares, again, one of the players, he's a top open player. When I first met him, he was a little standoffish. But once I started talking to him, he was one of the nicest guys. And then we joke around and he's appeared in a couple of my photo shoots. So, you know.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we talked about last week and week before last with Andreas and also with Noah is that usually you know when you go to these tournaments you see a lot of people that can present as being very standoffish or that, you know, are in their cliques and don't want to really be bothered with anybody. But I think it's, you know, how you're approaching them, and they may have heard certain things about, you know, the groups that are already there. So they stay in their side of the court or their side of the corner and nobody really gets to know each other. I think Fort Lauderdale was literally the first tournament that I ever went to where I felt like everybody got a chance to talk to everybody. And it was the first tournament that I went to where, you know, like DC, I got to meet so many of the different players and see that they're not as, you know, what everybody would consider them to be, all standoffish and didn't want to be bothered. It was just the fact that some of them are very introverted and quiet. And it was just, you know, actually just walking up to them and saying, hey, how you doing? My name is Sydney, and, you know, what's your sign? Whatever, you know?
Yeah, so. No, it's hard because with all these tournaments, you know, unless you're from that city, you're basically an outsider. You know, I'm an outsider every time I go somewhere. And it's just human nature that you stick to with people you know, who you know, and it's hard to break into different, you know, people call it cliques, but it's really just what people are comfortable with. It's not because they're anti-outside. It's what they're comfortable with.
Gotcha.
And, you know, you have to be like shameless and thick-skinned like myself to say, hey, and then...
and then go on what you can do. Exactly. Yeah. So our next question came from Juan, and I keep popping it up and out of the screen here because we kept going to other things. But Juan wanted to know, have you ever met, and I want to say her name right, is it Shei Shu Wei?
Oh, actually, Shu Wei is like her name. Yeah, it's Shu Wei, and Shei is her family name. So
okay.
We always say the family name first. So
gotcha.
We just call her Shu Wei, you know, no need to bring up the first last name, you know, like, you know, Sydney, David, and Gary. So no, I met her twice at a Australian Open last year and this year, and she is so fun to watch in person. You thought she was fun on TV, in person even better. And I met her, taken pictures with her, spoke to her in, you know, our mother tongue, and she was like to talk to.
That is awesome because like I love watching her. The first time I saw her play, I was just like, I literally just kept looking at the screen trying to figure out what in the hell is she doing? Because she was taking stuff off. You know, she had a two-handed forehand, two-handed backhand, and then it looks like she was about to chop wood, and then it was a drop shot that just landed out of nowhere, and her game just looked so awkward to me at first. And then I realized she's beating players that nobody expected her to come out and beat.
Yeah. Of all the players right now currently playing, she is my favorite player to watch. You know, because
dangerous.
It's just so interesting to watch her game, how she does it. And it's not all power. She takes the pace off the ball and creates the angles and the creativity of her shots. It's so much fun. You know, it's not just bam, 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 bam. Like,
right.
It's so she is my favorite player to watch nowadays and age. And I met her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those from Taiwan. Yes, that's true.
She is awesome.
Yeah.
So let's move back into the whole GLTA realm here, because of course that's where you've had tremendous success as a player, and just coming in. So how did you first hear about GLTA?
So that was a long, long time ago when I was young, in the 1980s. No, so I play high school, and after high school, actually, I stopped playing tennis for a while, and then I was hanging out with, I was out, and some of my friends said, "Hey, you want to go play tennis?" I said, "Oh yeah, I used to play tennis," and this is back in Orange County / LA. And they belong to the LATA, Los Angeles Tennis Association. So that's how my GLTA career started. I was like 20 years old, so I've been doing GLTA for almost 30 years.
So what division did you start out in?
I'm sorry?
What division did you start out in? What level?
C. Remember, I started in C's because I have not played tennis for a while, and I started in C's, and it took me 3 tournaments to win a C division tournament. My first title was the San Diego tournament, and then I went to B's, and it took me 3 tournaments to win a B title in LA, and then I went to play A's, and it took me 3 tournaments to win an A title in LA's, and then I went to Open. So,
Well, with that being
so
said,
I think all the divisions.
got you. Now, when it came to actually playing, when did singles or doubles, stand out to you more as far as success rate goes? Because you have quite a record with doubles as well. Could you talk a little bit about
Only recently, like Martina Hingis, back then when she first started, she wasn't paying attention too much to doubles. She was playing singles. But from 2009 to 2017, I didn't play much at all. I basically retired. So because in 2009, I won my one and only Open singles title in my whole life. And, the Texas Open in 2009. And, I've been trying that so hard for years. So when I won that, I'm like, oh, I've done it all, retired, like Blamnia Pineda. So I stopped playing tournaments for all the years. Except I would play like USGO, like the San Francisco tournament. I would play Fort Lauderdale, the local tournament, and that's it. Until 2017, one of our top players locally named Kenny Evans. And at that time, he was like the number 1 player. He's won all the tournaments. I played against him in the Clayport Classic in the semifinal. He knows who I am. We play each other socially, and I played him. And he goes, "Girl, you can play." I said, "Oh, thanks." He goes, well, I call her she because, we call her. So she goes, I thought you were just here for fun. I didn't know you were competitive. I said, oh, I could be competitive. So he asked me to play double. And I'm like, oh my God, this good player asked me to play doubles. I'll play, yes. So our first tournament was the Alamo Classic in San Antonio, and we got all the way to the final. I'm like, oh, I can compete doubles at the highest level again. So that's where it all started. So thank you, Kenny Evans, for restarting my tennis career. But in singles, it's just because I'm a little older, and just like Martina Hingis, she just cannot hang with the big girls, in the Open division. So I fluctuate between A and Open, in singles. So, but in doubles, I feel a little better to compete in the highest division. So.
Well, I think earlier on one of the postings, I put that you were the GLTA Golden Boy, and someone responded more like Golden Girl. So
yeah,
around for.
Thank you for being a friend.
Well, I mean, you are in Florida, so
exactly, and I'm about that same age, so I'm good with that too. Go to the Golden Girls.
Well, and hey, own your age, because I'm starting to own mine, and I'm happy with being who I am in my age. So I'm just thinking that, but I mean, we're around the same age. So for me, when I see that you've played 22 tournaments in 2019, how, why, ouch.
It's crazy. So in 2018, I went to the Paris Gay Games, first time ever in Europe, and I meet all these wonderful European players, and And I'm like, there's a whole world out there. I should go explore. And I'm a flight attendant. I can fly for free. So what's stopping me, right? So I started looking at the schedules. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many tournaments in Europe. And I remember telling my husband, I said, honey, I want to go play tennis. I'm going to be gone a lot. Is that okay? And he goes, this is his exact word. He goes, does it make you happy? I go, yes. He goes, well, if it makes you happy, it makes me happy. Oh, isn't that so sweet?
That is absolutely adorable.
I know. So I went to play as many tournaments as I could, but I'm picking tournaments I never played before. So, and in 13 different countries.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Because I play one tournament and swear to God that I'll never do another one because I'm in so much pain after it.
Cross-pack double specialist.
Well, exactly. Because I'm thinking about doing that because I think for me, because I'm running around playing tennis and trying to take photographs, that while I'm on the court, especially playing singles, it's hard for me to focus because I'm standing on the court waiting for somebody to serve, and I look to my left and my right, and I'm thinking, did I get that picture first, or did I get this other person in the picture? I definitely didn't get them. And then I look at my opponent saying, I didn't get a picture of them at all. So by that time, a ball has whizzed by me. So, I don't think about it. So I think I'm going to start doing more doubles.
Yeah, okay. And like, there's so much opportunities with GLTA. There's over 70 tournaments worldwide every year, right? So, and like last year, if it wasn't for GLTA, I would not have gone to countries. Like I went to Serbia. Who goes to Serbia? So because there was a tournament there, in Serbia. So I went to 5 countries I've never been before. I've never been to Spain, so I went there. I've never been to Belgium. I went to there. I never been to Serbia. I never been to Israel. So it has opened up another door in my life. So I'm so grateful I did it last year, because if I had planned it for this year,
it would have happened. Yeah.
This year.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that the GLTA has been around for so long. So I mean, it seems like, in 22 years playing with the GLTA, how
20?
Or 28. Oh my! Oh, it's just okay.
22 airlines.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so now with that 28 years, you've seen a lot of changes. How has the GLTA changed since you started playing with them?
Okay. Yes. When I first started, there was probably 20. Amsterdam was the only tournament there is that's not within the United States. So that itself is a big difference. And then the level of play is, when I used to play, I want an open singles title. What does that say about open back then? So if I can win an open,
hold on, why are you shooting yourself in the foot like that?
No, because I know how my game is, and I compare myself now with all the open players I play against. It's another level, because back then we didn't have college players. Like one of my favorite doubles partner, Mike Emiko, who I love. He and Andres, they all are college players who we don't have those back then. So it's just another level up, because I always tell people in the open division, I can probably be 20% of the lower 20%, but there's another 10%. It's like the Rogers and the Nadals and Djokovic of the ATP, of the GLTA. They are just another level above everybody. So that's the biggest difference. So back then, I know I would look up to so many open level players. I'm like, wow, they're so good, and it's just another level right now. So the level and quality has definitely gone higher, but it's definitely also been more global and more friendly, which is definitely a positive, because we're able to go to the world and see and meet people that we would not have done before. So it's definitely a plus. So it's all good.
Wonderful. So now I think Gary said something earlier about to me about you having all of these different doubles players. How many were it, Gary?
9.
9.
Actually, no.
Uno.
Last year,
Dos.
I think I had 15 different doubles partners. I was in 9 finals with 9 different partners. So,
Okay.
so I just can't keep doubles partners. You know, they play with me one time. Okay, bye. So I have to find somebody else.
And so you would think that if they won with you in a final, that they would want to play with you again.
You would think, right? No. But this is the thing. Not a lot of people can play all the tournaments that I play.
Right.
So, for example, Mike Amico, he and I won Toronto last year, and I'm like, oh my god, let's go play, Madrid. He's like, give me a plane ticket and pay for my hotel. I'll go. So not everybody has the resources.
Right.
That I, not just money, but like the free flights. So that allows me to travel. So I would love to pick a nice partner that just travels all over with me, and it's just impossible. So,
Gary, put your hand down.
My hand's not up, thank you. I learned my lesson the last time.
Let's talk about your dream team doubles. So, who would be your top 5 players in the GLTA to play doubles with? And then who would you like to play against?
Oh, okay. So again, in the US, my top 2 is Michael Amico, because this is the thing. When we play doubles, he's an amazing player. We take that out. When we're on changeovers, we're talking about eating dumplings, what restaurant we're gonna go eat, and we're like having a fun time talking about food. And our thing now at every tournament we go to, whichever city we are at, we find dumplings to eat at. So I know I'm getting good dumpling when I play with Mike Amico. So I love that. And who else? Oh, and then in Europe, I love playing with Chucky because we get to both wear dresses. So if you're willing to wear dresses with me in fierce looking dresses, I want to play.
See? So I think there goes Gary's decision to.
You know what? No. I would wear Serena's cat suit. So sure, yes, I would totally, not a dress. I would do the cat suit. So yeah, I'll bargain with you a little bit. Are we cool with that? It might take some Crisco and fishing wire, but we'll make it work.
And then, remember I brought up Dan's guy from Barcelona? Dan and I were going to play like 3 tournaments this year in Europe and all wearing dresses. So bring out that dress. I'm your partner.
Well, I'm sure everybody is waiting for the time when we can all get back on the courts and be able to go back to some of these tournaments and do all of that. And like you were talking about, a lot of people don't have the resources to do, like you said, like you do, and travel around as much because, the tournaments can become very expensive. And I think last week when we were talking to Noah Rubin, I vowed that I would probably never complain about the cost of another tournament after hearing how much the professionals have to pay just to go, on the tours and play qualies and have to pay for that. And then hotel and physios and coaches and everything else. My little $168, I'm good to give it now.
Playing GLTA tournaments is also very expensive. Me and my friend were talking. It costs about $1,000 every time you play a tournament because it's a 3-day tournament. You have to pay for airfares. You have to pay for hotels, food. You have to eat food whether you're home, you're away. So I'm not going to count food. So it's like $1,000. But luckily for me, when I get free flights basically, so that's like I save $500 right there. And what's amazing about the GLTA is they offer hosted housings. So that's because it's local players that host out of town players that are playing in a tournament, and that saves the hotel cost. So all you really have to pay is the entries and the food. And like this year at a Clay Court Classic, I live in Fort Lauderdale. I hosted 4 players at my house. And I believe what goes around comes around. And toward the end of last year, I was in 5 cities in Europe for 5 weeks. I was in Brussels, I was in London, I was in Antwerp, I was in Basel, I was in Barcelona for 5 weeks. I spent $0 on hotels because I just stayed with the friends. So that's
That's great
exactly
because
for free.
yeah, that's the same thing with me. Whenever I go, especially Fort Lauderdale, when I come down there, because like I said, it's become one of my favorite tournaments. My best friend lives down there, so I always stay with him while I'm down there. So that's always a good thing for me.
So that's why, not everybody has the resources, but there are ways to get around it. And the GLTA, the community itself is helping players from out of town, from all over the world, to make it more affordable by hosting players.
Yeah, and that's that was one of the things I started talking to some of the board members of the GLTA, and making sure that they understood that. I think now when the tournament directors post on the GLTA website, I think some of them have started putting on there, if people need housing or whatnot. But it's the thing now. The problem is just getting those people to respond and say, "Oh yeah, we have housing for you," or instead of waiting a couple of days, because the closer you wait, you may not get a hotel, or you may get a bad hotel, or you may have to pay much more than you would have if you booked it way ahead of time. So
most tournament directors are really good, even if they don't put it on their website. Email them. Every tournament I enter, I email them right away. The tournament director's name is always on the GLTA website. I just say, "Hi, this is David from the USA. I'm playing your tournament. Do you guys offer host housing?" And every single time they say, "We will see what we can do." So
that's wonderful. And thank you for that information, because a lot of people don't know, like, you being such a GLTA professional tour player, any advice that you give people, I think would be great. So I think what we're going to do now is I have just a couple more questions for you, but we're going to have to wrap up pretty soon. But one of my things I wanted to find out from you is, what is some of the best advice that you've been given? And what is some of the best advice that you've given to someone?
So I always tell people, I have so many friends because, within the gay community, we're often being judged. And I have an issue with this masculine, being masculine, being femme, and all that. A friend of mine was, "David, I need to push up, so I can attract more guys." I say, "No, be yourself, because if you're not being yourself, you're going to attract people who's not going to love for who you are. So be true to yourself, and then be kind." And they're always more about being judged what they do. And this is what I tell them. I said, unless they're paying your rent or utility bill, who cares what they think? Right?
Yes, exactly.
They don't pay your mortgage, they don't pay your property taxes. Who cares what they think? So, but however, I say, as long as you come from a place of goodness and kindness, do whatever you want. If you're going to be a mean person or being deceitful, no, you don't want to hurt people. But as long as you come from a good place and a kind heart, do whatever you want, and don't worry about being judged by other people.
That is absolutely awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think it's advice that everyone can take.
I just heard, it was yesterday. I was talking to Victoria Azarenka yesterday. She goes, she was saying me, and I love it. She goes, "You can be the sweetest peach, so ripe, so ready to be picked up. And somebody in this world is going to say, 'I hate peaches.'"
Yeah.
You can't make everybody happy. So.
Yep, you're never going to make everybody happy, and everybody's not always going to be happy with you. So
Exactly.
I think we're at a certain age now where we started looking at it. And yes, everybody, I've been throwing the age thing around, and I'm good for it. But I think we're literally at a certain age now where we have taken everything that people have said to us over the years and decided, you know what? Like you just said, unless you are paying my bills and taking care of me 24/7, 365, your opinion is just that, your opinion. It does not matter to me. And if I take it, I take it. If I don't, there's no reason for you to force it on me. Just let me be me and live my life.
Exactly.
So everybody, I think that is all the time that we have for Mini Break today with David. It has been such a great thing having you on here. You have shed so much light on GLTA U and your life and everything else that you do. And we were so glad to have you on here.
Thank you,
Thank
David.
you so much, and thank you for doing this for us and the community as well.
No problem. We totally enjoy it. And we definitely want to make sure that people are able to get in touch with you if they need to and if they have questions. So we know that you're active on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Grindr, wherever they can find you.
Anyway, Tinder, Christian Mingle.
Christian Mingle, eHarmony, you're all over the place. But
Yeah. Bathroom wall.
actually, I have one more question for you. How did you start because we talked about this a little bit before, and I wanted to expand on it a little bit before we go. With David Chen Top 6, how did that get started?
Oh, okay. So I was in Nuremberg, Germany, in last year, and I like to take pictures. And Brian from Spain, he was in the changing room, locker room, changing next to me. I'm like, damn, he's hot. So I'm like, hey, Brian, take a selfie. He goes, sure. So I took a selfie. And then Peter Majestic from Barcelona was right next to me. He's like, hey, oh, you're cute. Let's take another selfie. So I took another one with him. And then so from there, after I left the locker room, I'm like, oh my God, this picture looks hot. So I'm like, I should take more pictures with more hotties and with my own shirt off too. So I have my first ever David Chen Top 6 in Nuremberg, and they were my original 6. And
nice.
From on, I went to the next tournament. I'm like, and of course I posted, right? And I'm getting good responses. I'm like, ooh, hot guys, fun tournament. So my next tournament, I did the same thing. So it's becoming a thing, and I have tournament directors that message me. Hey, David, are you coming to our tournament? I said, yeah. He's like, would you do a David Chen Top 6 when you're at our tournament? I said, of course.
And I think that's awesome that you're doing that. And I know that one of the things that we talked about is that you had some people coming up to you saying, well, why is it that I'm only seeing white guys and I'm not seeing any people of color? I'm not seeing anybody else. And you explained it to me, and I loved what you said to me about it. So do you want to tell people your answer to that?
So the first time I got that response about, some guy said, oh, how come there's no black people? I was in Belgrade, Serbia. There's no black people there. So how am I going to have black people to film my David Chen Top 6? So let's so I can't take pictures.
It's a legitimate excuse, I suppose.
It is. So, but if you look through, just look hashtag David Chen Top 6. I have plenty of hot black guys in there. My first one, oh, so hot. Garnett Taylor. He was, classic. So he appeared. So and as Tavares. So when there's hot black guys, they'll be seen and shown. And
I wanted to make sure we brought that up because I wanted to clear it up for people because, like you said, I mean, I've heard those comments before. People are like, well, why are you only taking pictures of white people? And why are you only taking? And I was like, I take pictures of everyone. But when someone tells me specifically, don't take my picture, I honor their request. And it just happens that at the GLTA tournaments, there's usually one color more than another. So you're going to get that. And it's not because, we're trying to alienate anybody or anything like that. It's just because that's who's there. And you take what you see. So, we try to be as inclusive as possible.
So for all the black hot boys out there or girls, I'm going to do a special edition because I'm doing special editions as well. My last special edition was 50 and Fabulous because, I want to shine light into the, the more mature age and so many handsome men. And, my husband was one of them. So
wait. What about 30, Flirty, and Thriving? What about my group?
Oh, that was so yesterday. Go ahead, David. Continue. Talk about the 50 plus. Go ahead.
So I did a 50 and Fabulous special edition. So one of the special edition I want to work on are hot chocolates. So
Maybe use that term, but okay.
let's do our voice over and so.
Well, again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. You can again find David at David Chen Official on Instagram, hashtag David Chen Top 6. He also has hashtag David Chen Bums. Is that correct, David?
Yes, David Chen Bums. Oh.
We're not going to talk about that right now. Get it out of your mind. Stop it right now. So, but again, David, it has been such a pleasure to have you on with us. And we definitely want to make sure that we talk to you again, because once the season starts up again, we're probably going to try to take this out on the road with us as well, so that people can see everybody enjoying themselves out on the court. And David also asked here, what about lesbians and trans women on the top 6? So make sure that you add that into your repertoire as well.
I do. In Montreal, I have a pregnant straight woman in my David Chen Top 6.
See, it's your life. Do you?
Yeah. And Liquor Classic this year, I had a transgender woman, Natasha.
See? So it's happening. So you heard it here first. It is happening and it's staying out there. And we are so pleased that David has opted to share that with us today. So again, thank you very much. And everybody, thank you so much for watching and all your comments. Be sure to tune in with us next week, where we have a very special guest coming on board. Her name is Monse Gonzalez. She's won 10 singles and 7 doubles titles on the ITF women's circuit, and she reached the top 125 with the WTA. So we're looking forward to hearing her story and seeing a lot more about her as well. So everybody have a great day, and thanks again for joining Mini Break.
Have a great Sunday.
Bye, everybody.
Don't care 'cause I know, when I put it on, I look good, I look good, I look good. You can't tell me that I look good, I look good, I look good. Say nothing wrong with it, I can let my own shit. Say what you want, I look good, I look good, I look good. Can be no one else, ooh, I'm amazing. All of my flaws, my scars, I got nothing.
Hi, everybody. This is Sydney and Gary. We again just wanted to make sure to let you know that next week we will be having Monse Gonzalez. Again, she's won 10 titles or 10 singles titles and 7 doubles titles on the ITF women's circuit and has reached number 125 with the WTA. We are so looking forward to having her on as our special guest. And we'll also more than likely have a group translator with us, Gustavo, who will help just to be on the safe side, to make sure that everybody understands everything. So have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you. Bye.
Guys, bye.